I want to welcome everybody to our Yom Kippur special edition of the Daily Cheat Sheet. We recorded this yesterday. I'm sorry that we will not be speaking about current events, but this really is a current event as it is Yom Kippur. Who knows if Hamas will come back and reject the deal or not reject the deal, but it's important to remember that 49 years ago, Israel was at war. Thank God for Richard Nixon for saving Israel, and thank God for Donald Trump for keeping on protecting Israel. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank all our listeners, and we hope you enjoy this extremely, what's the right word, Golan, I'm looking for?
Heated
discussion. That's very important thing about America is being able to have heated discussions. And that's what Charlie Kirk believed. Debate is the essence of America. And that's something we hold very near and dear to our hearts. So we hope you enjoy this episode.
The amount of foreign aid that we're giving to all these countries, Israel included, I think we should stop all that foreign aid, let them survive on their own. And if we do it, it should be in the form of loans with high interest loans that we give them and we should get paid back. There's no reason for us to be giving billions of dollars.
They actually, one second, you got to be corrected on that. Okay. Because it's really dangerous what you're saying. And I don't mean to say that Israel gets $3.8 billion a year, which 80% of that money comes back into America, not to mention all the money that is being spent.
It is a jobs program for America, period.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Okay, go on.
And also
finish.
There also is a loan guarantee program, which has already been put in place, which was set up by Ben Stein's father and Dick Schultz, the former Secretary of State, and many other things in, I believe, 1985, that we already have that program. The other country, fine. Israel, stop taking the $3.8 billion, but preface it with where that $3.8 billion is actually going compared to the other countries that are getting a crap ton of money.
And what Israel brings back as a result. If Israel is also providing 1,000 things to the United States, and then money comes from the other side, and that is like, okay, that's an exchange of goods. If I'm not mistaken, right, you're saying make it explicit, right? You give us this piece of information, here's the thing for it. You give us this piece of equipment, here's a payment for it, all of that. But to pretend that the money that Israel gets is a handout is just entirely off base. There are countries that get handouts. Israel's not one of them.
So let's go back to what I said. I said America should stop doing all foreign aid, and you guys both said, "Oh, you're incorrect."
No, because you brought up Israel.
I said all of them, including Israel.
Because when you
but
say
you can't lump them together.
You can't lump them together. You simply
Let's not lump them together. I think America should stop giving out all foreign aid, and I also think America should stop giving foreign aid to Israel. And my reasoning being is that Israel produces enough weapons and weapons technology that they could sell us that technology instead of sharing it with us, which they do, and make far more money by selling it to us than us giving aid and getting it for free. Now, as an American, I love getting it for free. But in the face of all of these woke pundits, the woke right that are talking about Israel foreign aid and the woke left that talks about Israel foreign aid, I would like to remove that entire argument from the table. And the way you do that is you say no more foreign aid. Now, you guys could have a problem with the way I'm phrasing it and the way the aid is being spent. Of course, it comes back and it's defense contracts and they have to buy American goods and blah, blah, blah.
I'm just going to say, I just want to quibble with the word comes back. Because when America gives that quote unquote foreign aid, they don't give it to Israel.
Right. It's a credit that we need to spend in the U.S.
The checks are cut directly to Lockheed Martin, to Raytheon, to Boeing, to Northrop. It does not even go to Israel. It is
you guys are nitpicking.
Program.
You're nitpicking.
It's not
and you're
because
missing the whole point.
It's a buy American subsidy disguised as foreign aid.
Yes.
It's an important thing to note. Other countries don't have that.
How's that argument working out for you in the public sphere?
But that's the point.
Nobody says that.
I'm sorry, man.
That.
I'm going to take you to
cares.
task because you're the one who made it sound like it was a handout, and that's the problem.
The problem
it has to be made clear time and time again. And I'm fine. If you want to change it to, you know what? We're not giving you any foreign aid. Okay. You want to buy a Lockheed Martin jet? Then give us a new missile that you just invented. Okay, then we'll make it an exchange program. We'll make it a paper. That's fine. It's the same thing. It's semantics. But that's fine. But we also have to be careful what the message is, because if we go to the public and we say we got to stop handing Israel handouts, because it's not, it is explicitly not. And we have to be careful how we say it so that we don't encourage those people who are trying to vilify Israel using the wrong language. that
You
they
know,
could use against us.
I've been saying something for years, for about 10 years now, saying you can't let this Palestinian narrative fester. And they were going with apartheid, and they were going with a settler colonial project, all this nonsense. And everybody was just like, no, no big deal, let it go, da da da. And for years, we've been seeing the erosion of support for Israel in America. And I'm saying the same thing here. You can't let this stupid thing continue to fester. Now, you could argue with me all you want.
We're not arguing with you. Just hold on for a second, because I didn't speak. So I just want to say, just to clarify, we're arguing with you on one thing.
Yeah,
When
what
you
I'm
bring up
saying
that
is,
when you bring up that talking point, you sound no different than Tucker Carlson or anybody else when you don't say the statement with context.
okay, well,
There's
all I am saying is that I am against all foreign aid, whether it is spent in the US or it is spent in their foreign countries for basket weaving, for trans, interpretive dance. I don't care what we're spending it on. I don't want it. As far as the Israeli foreign aid goes, where they spend it on American companies and they don't get it, the checks go directly from the Pentagon or wherever, straight to Lockheed Martin and Boeing or wherever. I still don't want that. What I would rather have is a purchase and sale agreement where they buy Israeli technology for whatever the Israelis sell it for, and the Israelis have to buy the American technology for whatever we sell it for. At the end of the day, let the chips fall where they may. Doesn't matter, and it
I
eliminates the
don't disagree with
entire
you
woke
from a
right
semantics,
argument. It
like
gets
an
rid of it. That's
optics
what I'm saying.
perspective.
Let's get
No,
rid
no,
of that.
but wait, but there is an issue, right? And the issue is that actually, and I agree with you for Israel's sake, I agree with you, but for
Yes.
America's sake, it actually hurts America because the money that is being given to Israel, through however you want to phrase it, whatever program you want to phrase it, it's America investing in Americans' defense industry, American jobs, and American security. If we encourage Israel to keep everything internally, which they could, they invent 90% of the stuff that we end up using. They invented the Iron Dome, David Sling, the trophy tank defenses, all this stuff that now we're trying to use in the United States that makes our military stronger. Now, instead of $4 billion that will be spent some way that is going to the defense industry, to jobs, to our security, now it's just not going to exist. It's not that money is now going to be spent elsewhere, and they're just going to say, hey, we just saved this much money on the deficit, and that's jobs lost, that's security lost. We're not going to be sharing it.
Let
So
me lay it out.
then the idea is to go to Israel and say, here's the same amount of money for you to share what you just built. So it's semantics, but it also matters because it actually hurts America in the long run. That's the funny thing is I hear people
I
say to
don't
me all
think
the
it
time,
does.
why are we giving away billions to Israel? And we're not.
And I disagree. So one is you can't get away from the argument, why are we giving billions to Israel? Because every politician and every woke politician and everyone on the left and everyone on the right says the exact same talking point. So the entire argument that it's spent here in the US is moot. It doesn't do anything because the naysayers are still out there saying it and everybody believes it. So you could yell at me saying, don't tell anyone, but doesn't matter.
I'm not saying
that's already out of the bag.
I'm sorry. I'm not saying don't tell anyone. I'm saying just like anybody else, I don't want to say false information. Give context. That's it.
It was
just
the
give
way
context.
we're simply
And
saying
what I'm saying is, sure, I'll give context, but we've already lost the entire argument. The entire thing is out of the bag. It's ran away. It's out there in the ether, and everybody's saying, let's stop giving billions to Israel. That's the crying
well,
talking
don't
point.
pile on by saying exactly. We're not disagreeing with you. We're simply
all
saying.
I'm saying is there's a much better way to do it, which is not as good for America, but is a better way to do it because it strengthens the allyship between America and Israel. If you get rid of that talking point that the left and the woke right loves to use, you absolutely abolish it by getting rid of the foreign aid and you convert it into a purchase sale agreement where they buy stuff and we buy stuff and everybody makes money. Sure, it might cost the Americans a little bit more in the long run, but the preserving of that relationship between the two allies is more important than a few dollars that we might lose on a bilateral trade agreement. So that's what I'm saying.
And I'm just gonna say this, go on. The reason I disagree, and I just as he was saying this, I had this realization where I disagree with him 1,000,000%, because again, this has nothing to do with the $3.8 billion. We waste $3.8 billion in half a second every single day.
100%.
They will always find an issue.
Let them find another issue. Go find another issue. That
well,
one
they
is
did.
that
You
one
know
is
what, man? You know what the issue was? You know what the issue was?
Let's hear it.
The new issue is We disagree with Bibi's policies. No matter what Israel does, they're always going to find a policy with something they hate about.
I am consistent. I'm consistent. And I always say, don't give them the ammo. And this is a really low-hanging fruit. This is an easy
so
one.
By your metric,
yeah,
Israel shouldn't exist anymore.
No,
they won't have any more ammo.
How dare you say that?
Israel,
how dare you say that?
Hang on. Let me go back to
attention, Israel, shut down.
This is me. Bro, that's me. Don't tell me that I say Israel shouldn't exist.
No. He's not calling into question your loyalty to America, and he's not calling in your question for your support for Israel either. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is it's important for us to be clear. And I understand, of course, men, you're talking about optics. You're not talking about reality. And from an optics perspective, we agree with you. But whenever we say it, whenever anyone who actually knows better says it, we have to be very careful how we phrase it. This money does not go to Israel's economy. It goes to our economy. If Israel stops taking U.S. military aid, those billions stop flowing to the American economy. The American paycheck stop. Jobs get lost. Israel is more than capable of making its own weapons. But not only that, one of the things that we do, Israel has constant wars because these terrorists are constantly attacking Hamas and Hezbollah and Houthis and whatever else. And Israel is in way more battles than we are. What happens? Everything that America invents, we hand to Israel and go, can you battle test this, see if it really works? That costs tons of money. And Israel doesn't charge us for that, right? And then they also share their technology. So I get what you're saying. You want America to go to Israel and say, hey, we will pay you to do the battle testing. And it's the same amount of money will change hands and all the rest, except now America has lost all those jobs and all that money that was flowing back to the American economy.
Wait, why would we lose it? Why would we lose that job and money that's flowing back?
Because the whole reason why they can tell Israel you must spend this money in the United States is because we are created a jobs program for ourselves and we're pretending it's foreign aid. So that's the only reason.
Israel's going to go out and buy the J whatever fighters from China.
What I'm saying is Israel already makes world-class drones. They make missile defense systems. They make rifles. They make fighter jet components. If America cut the cord, they would pour the billions that by the way, that's a drop in the bucket for them. It's nothing. The 3.8 billion, it's nothing. So the GDP of Israel is a bazillion times bigger than that. So they would take that money and pour it into their own companies because in the long run, once they have their systems in place, their manufacturing system in place and everything else, then the cost goes down and they don't need to rely on anybody else. Here, it was a tit for tat. The U.S. defense industry had a long-term reliable customer that's gone now, right? And the Pentagon will lose out because of all the things that Israel does. The data that they're using goes back to American engineers and is used because of the sharing of information. All of this stuff can go away. Now, you can say, now Israel's an ally. They'll still do it, but they don't have to. And so if that happens, there is a loss on the American side of things. If we can make that clear, and I understand we're losing the argument because sure, there's only 16 million Jews out there, and there's 2 billion Muslims, plus all the Jew haters and everything else. And social media is designed by the Chinese and we're all screwed. But we have to keep speaking truth. We have to keep being clear. Our clarity is the only thing that's going to fight back against all the propaganda. So we can't falter when it comes to that. And that's the only thing I was saying is we have to be clear about the message that goes out there because people don't understand this. They think that America is just handing over billions of dollars to Israel and then American bombs are blowing up little kids. And it's just a false narrative. And I get that we're losing the false narrative. I know you're going to say that we've already lost it. But then we can't just throw in the towel and say, well, then we're just going to use their language. We can't.
That's not what I'm saying. And I don't agree that if we stop giving this aid conditional package where the Israelis have to buy American weapons, that they would stop buying American weapons. What I'm saying is that if we change the name of aid to
that is, by the way, the proposal internally
Iron Dome
in Israel right now.
What's that?
That is one of the proposals internally right now in Israel is they're saying after what happened with Biden, they don't want to risk it. And they are actually talking about ramping up their own manufacturing, which would
they are talking about ramping up their own manufacturing. They need to do
that. They're
just
talking about it. They're actually doing.
They're actually doing. 2,000-pound bombs need to be created in Israel. Everything needs to be.
Understand the backstory on this was we were holding a bunch of weapons in Israel, right? We were stockpiling weapons in Israel that then went to the Ukraine. And then when Biden slow rolled all the weaponry, Israel realized at that point that they have to. Israel used to build their own munitions. This is something they did for many years, and they halted a lot of production. Like we did with a lot of things, and they became reliant on other countries. So now they've been ramping up production on all these things. It's going to take a few years, though, for that to actually happen. You can't just out of nowhere just build mass weaponry. You just it's
So
an
that
impossibility.
further and strengthens my argument that they're not just going to stop buying American weapons. What all I'm saying is you just change the title from aid to paying for some sort of service or goods that we're getting in return.
Again,
You
I
see,
don't
but you've
disagree with the
said
optics, but I'm curious, man. Do you think that stops all the grifters from just saying it's the same thing?
No, but it removes a really low-hanging fruit that they love to use. Because when you're a taxpayer here in America, or if you're a poor white trash living in a double wide, or if you're whatever, if you're struggling and you hear that there's billions of dollars going to this Middle Eastern country that claims to be our ally, why? It's so easy.
You started this off by bringing up the brilliant Douglas Murray point, was the flare that goes up in the night. Okay. Then you went on to say, which is something I agree with you on, about the whole apartheid state and all these things that they weren't counteracting. So that was number one, right? So that was one of the things they started off. Then you went into the web. So you're listing off 2, 3 things that people constantly use. And as we've brought up, on October 7th at night or October 8th the next morning, the left was ready to battle. The left was ready to battle for Hamas, and people have
while the
bought these
terrorists were still inside Israel.
Well, the terrorists were still inside Israel. So I don't think anything at this point is what we're witnessing in history is going to counteract, no matter how many Pascals you bring in there or how many people you have talking about certain things, unless we just continue, as Golan said, talking about reality and the truth. I don't think you could stop.
Here's the argument. And I heard this well said by, it may have been Dan Senor or one of those guys. Just because you're being accused of genocide doesn't mean that you should now have a free rein to go and try to commit a genocide. Just because they're accusing you of things doesn't mean you need to stoop down. You still need to do what you do, which is what's morally right, which is what the Israelis do, right? Here too.
How does that relate
just because they're accusing you of everything in the world doesn't mean that you should not eliminate the low-hanging fruit, the easy things that you could just get rid of and say that's no longer a thing.
And what I'm saying is Jews are the low-hanging fruit throughout history.
I don't know what you're saying now. All I'm saying is,
he's saying that no matter what we call it, no matter what we do,
right? So he's in the camp. We may as well do it because we're going to be called that.
No, but it's not. We may as well do it. I haven't even mentioned this, but one of the things that foreign aid from the United States to Israel, one of the things it does is it locks in prices. They can't negotiate. Imagine now if it's their choice. If it's their choice, that means they're going to negotiate harder.
Great.
It means they're going to buy less because they have to buy a certain number, right? They have to buy certain things. Just like what happens with when pork is in bills, and they're like, and also we got to build a bunch of Hummers. Like, we don't need Hummers. It's like, yeah, but my district needs to build them, right? That stuff. Now Israel say, I don't need that thing. It's like, well, but we really needed, Lockheed needed to build 4 more.
Doesn't matter.
They don't need any more.
Right.
So now,
someone else
you know what? China or France or Germany or whoever is still willing to sell weapons to Israel, I'll go buy them there. It's cheaper, or I'll just make them myself. And little by little, over time, you are actually injuring the Americans as opposed to the Israelis. When they do this, the people who say this are not just grifters. There are grifters who say it who know better, but a lot of the people simply don't know. That's the thing I'm really railing for and against here, is making sure that we continue telling the truth about this and being specific about it, because those people, little by little, when they hear it, all I need is one at a time for them to hear it and go, I didn't realize. I was told these were just American bombs and we were handing all of our money over to Israelis.
You're going to have to convince 330 million Americans or 360 million Americans one at a time. And I'm saying
it's what I got to do anyway.
With one little signature, they could say, this is God, now we're doing it this way. And it's over. And I don't have to convince anybody.
And what we're saying is, you're talking, Bibi Netanyahu was on trigonometry, and they said you've lost the propaganda war, and his response was, we've lost it for the past 2,500 years.
That was one of the dumbest responses. That guy did not have an English speaking representative throughout this war. So don't tell me he was a genius. Bibi absolutely screwed up on that one. Absolutely. They could have done so much better. They just let it run away. They let it
We
run
can
away. They let the
agree that
propaganda war just run away.
Israel is not good at PR, and also agree
Not
that even if they
good.
were the best, no, even and they're the worst. Fine.
He didn't
So that
even explain to the
we can
Israelis what he
agree
was doing.
we can agree that Israel is bad at PR, and also agree that even if they were brilliant at PR, it wouldn't matter to the people who want to vilify the Jews.
True, but it would matter to a lot of other people in the middle. It would have mattered to a lot of other people. They did not even make an effort. Daniel Hagari, that well-spoken general, for some reason he was allowed to retire in the middle of a war. Levy, whatever his name is, Levy.
Elon Levy.
Elon Levy, great spokesperson. He was fired in the middle of the war and they did not replace him. So don't tell me, oh, his thing was like, oh, for 2,000 years.
No, I can tell you whatever I want, and I'll just say it like this:
He's a moron.
This isn't like a new thing. This is something they've been facing for God knows how long, since Yasser Arafat walked into the United.
Figured out how to
Jimmy
get past
Carter wrote a book called "Peace Not Apartheid." Man, this is the lies are there regardless of what you do or don't do. Israel literally has Arabs on the Supreme Court,
and you're saying give up, and I'm saying
are in the government, and they're still saying apartheid. So you're saying, oh, we make this change, and then we don't have to deal with it. Of course, we have to deal with it. They'll just say it's the same thing, and they use semantics. That's all. We're not going to win that war.
I'm not saying you won't have to deal with any of it. I'm saying that you won't have to deal with this hot button issue, which is such a hot button issue, and there's a really easy fix. And you guys are for some reason pushing back with these like long and tangled explanations of why it's needed.
We're not.
Somewhere in Wisconsin,
there's nothing long and tangled by saying
who's going to have to become a stripper because she won't be able to bake bombs anymore.
Because we disagree with you.
I support her in her stripping career.
Because we disagree with you doesn't mean we're coming up. I simply said you're wrong. This will not stop it. That wasn't a long.
You know what?
Summary.
It will stop. Well, you'll never hear someone say, once you make this one little change, one is Israel could generate more money off of their technology, which is great because then they could develop more of it, and then we get to buy it from them. We get to use the Iron Dome or whatever
people
else.
Are going to understand that one. People are going to understand that one. I love how you're saying nobody's going to understand.
They don't need to. When was the last time you heard anyone talk about anything the government spent money on and buying? What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Wait a second. This is men. This is important.
You just went on a 5-minute.
What Judah is saying is that all you need are the same grifters who created this nonsense about it being a handout to Israel, which is a lie, to take what you just said and create a new lie narrative that is, oh, you see what they did? They changed it to as if we're buying that. It's still the same handout. They just labeled it in a different way.
You know
and
what
then those same gullible people are
going
to fall into the same gullible trap.
No. Now it takes the burden off of us from convincing 300+ million Americans why this thing that we call foreign aid is really not foreign aid, because it's helping that young mother in Wisconsin not become a stripper and she could continue making bombs for the defense contractors because the Israelis will buy it from us with our money that we're loaning them and giving them. And convolute. It changes that whole argument. Now the Tuckers have to make that argument, and they have to convince 330 million.
I don't know what land you're. I really don't know what dream you're living. I really don't.
It's really simple. Stop arguing for 1 second. Really, really simple. There's
nothing simple here.
They're saying.
I don't know what you're trying to make simple over a 2,500 year conversation. You make it like
I'm not saying 2,500 year
true hatred will end.
You're taking it into the whole anti-Semite sphere. I'm not even going with that. All I'm saying is, there's a talking point out there.
That's where it lives. This talking point right now, the one that you are talking about trying to fix, is a false talking point that someone made up, like the elders of Zion, in order to vilify Israel, and people who wanted to hate the Jews and people who didn't know any better, but they saw it on social media, bought it.
What
and
I'm
it doesn't
saying
matter how many times.
As a kid on social media, a 16-year-old turns it on and hears someone say that we give how many billions? What is it? How many billions do we give in
$3.8 billion.
$3.8 billion. We give $3.8 billion a year in foreign aid to Israel. Why do we do that? And that's it. That's all they need to say. Now, let's change that and say we buy $4.9 billion of military gear from Israel every year. Why are we buying it from them? Go make that argument. You can't make that argument.
Okay, we've spoken about a million things that have been spread falsely about Israel, and you're trying to say that this one thing will stop the genocide claims. It'll stop.
Did I say that? Did I say that?
Can I ask this, man?
I never said that.
Let me ask you this. The apartheid lie is not even based on anything. It is just a pure lie.
Complete made up. Yeah.
Complete made up lie. Did it stop it from proliferating because it doesn't exist?
I think in a lot of places I've seen Black influencers go to Israel and demonstrate that it is absolutely made up.
But
It's
that's not
easy.
what I'm
That's an
not. I'm not
easy
asking.
one.
I watched that guy's food blog as
One
well. I
Black
love him. Yeah,
influencer,
I,
but
I
yeah,
like
go
him a
on.
What,
lot.
the
He's
food
right.
guy? I'm not even talking about the
Yeah.
food guy. There's
No,
the
no.
other guy, the
It,
Black gay guy who went over there, the
but listen,
conservative,
listen.
whatever his
I'm
name is.
asking you a question because the apartheid lie. We can't pretend like a couple of influencers changed it. The apartheid lie is a whole cloth lie. The genocide lie, you could be like, well, I saw videos, I saw that, but the apartheid lie is just manufactured from zero, from nothing.
Genocide's manufactured too.
No,
Absolutely.
I understand, but at least you can say, I saw pictures of babies, and you're like, but those were
That's not
AI
genocide.
and Yemen. No, I understand, but that's an emotional reaction. Apartheid, there's not even an emotional reaction. It is just pure fiction. Pure fiction has no basis in fact, and if you take 2 seconds to even look at one thing, you can see it's not true. And yet it is as spread as all of the other lies. So why would the semantics of changing this from aid to sale make a difference to any of these people? If the apartheid lie has never made a difference, the fact fiction of it has never made a difference to anybody.
Anyone who's spreading the apartheid lie is not someone that you're trying to convince on this one. I'm talking about the 16-year-olds that get on TikTok that watch a video where some other 16-year-old is telling them that. And if you could eliminate that one giant talking point with one stroke of the pen, one change of a word, it's fixed.
Let me
And you
ask
guys
you
are
this.
being pushed back as if I'm
I think
going
we
Let me
to
ask
played
you a
this out.
question.
I think we
How
played this
many
out, but I
people-
disagree
Palestinian
with
state
you.
in Jerusalem
Yeah.
or something.
How many people still think the fine
Very
people
fine
hope
people
still
on both
exists?
sides, yeah.
I don't understand what the point you're trying to make.
No, it's a very good point because reality doesn't enter into the conversation.
Well, then we
That's the
may as
point.
well not give a shit about any of it and just throw our hands up and say it doesn't matter.
No,
every
that's not
time
what
it
we're
comes
saying.
up,
You can push
we
back
have-
about
no,
anything.
every time it comes up, we have to say there was more to that speech and he didn't say. Very fine people on both sides. We have to keep pushing back. And even though we might be the minority voices because the media is a big bad media that's going to say the opposite, we have to keep telling the truth. We have to keep being clear about what's actually happened in reality. And little by little, and this is how it works, right? The lie will spread while the
Okay.
truth doesn't even
Let
put
me
its
ask
shoes
you
on.
something.
We have no choice but to keep chipping away at the wall.
All right. I'm a 16-year-old and I just saw a TikTok video that says we're giving Israel 3 point something billion. Explain to me why we're doing that.
Okay, so now hang on. I'm going to counter with a question. I'm a 16-year-old. We have changed our policies and now we sell everything to the Israelis. And I watched a TikTok video in which the 16-year-old, they say, we still are giving a handout to Israel. That's it. They're lying. What's the difference?
The difference
The difference is
that
Americans have lost jobs and the Pentagon
okay,
is not
so
as safe,
let
but the information is the same.
the information is not the same. You know, when an elected, you see a lot of
The
these
lie
videos,
is the lie.
a lot of these
They lied
videos
the
of people
first time, they lied
confronting
the second time. What's the
people
difference?
Men,
confronting
they
elected
came
officials
out and
saying,
you had
why are we giving them
16-year-olds believing that bin Laden was right.
All right,
That's
so
how
you're making
easy,
the case that we shouldn't
that's how
even push
easy
back.
it
That's your
is.
case.
So no,
No.
what I'm saying, what
I'm saying
Golan
there's
is
a
saying.
simple, easy
you-
fix, and you guys
No,
are telling
there
me that
is
that
no
does
simple,
good.
easy fix. The easiest fix is to keep on talking about this, to go
Keep telling the
around
truth about it.
and to go around and tell the
You
truth.
know how convoluted the argument we have to make as to why that is needed? Go for it. Go on. What are we saying? We're saying because when we give 3.8 billion,
No, we're not even
No,
saying
we're not
that.
even
they have to spend it in the U.S.
No, what we
which
simply
then
said
protects
to
jobs.
you was what we simply said to you is don't repeat their. This all started by us trying to differentiate between your whole concept of you want to cut off all foreign aid.
I do. I
to-
would love to cut off all foreign aid.
and to lumping in Israel with
And
that
I would
group.
like to end the foreign aid to Israel too. How's that?
If you just want to simply say cut all foreign aid, that's fine.
Yeah.
But don't lump Israel into that at that same point, because at that point you are giving you're Tucker Carlson saying that at that point, because you're not explaining it. So yeah, I agree
what
with
I'm
you.
doing is I'm coming at this from a standpoint of the American-Israel relationship. And I think it's a very important relationship. As an American, we benefit greatly from Israeli technology and Israeli surveillance and all the spy agency stuff. We do, as well as many other countries around the world. It's funny because Spain just lost that, and that's what they heavily relied on when there was the Madrid train bombings. So I'm coming at this from a very healthy standpoint of pro the Israel-America relationship. And I think in order to help preserve that relationship, there's a sticking point that a lot of these Jew haters, Israelite haters, you call them whatever you want, a lot of them love to talk about, and that is the foreign aid. And I said, oh, if you just change it to a bilateral trade agreement where we buy their technology and they buy our technology, great, it's done. And for some reason, you give me a lot of pushback on that. When I
Yeah,
think
but
this is
you
a
want to
very
know
sane
why
and
we're giving you
logical.
pushback on it? Because you're living in, to quote Golan, you're living in Narnia. We've had 10 other libels spread in the last 2 years about us.
What you have to do is take each one on its face and take it head on. This is one of them. I'm dealing with this one. What are you doing about this one?
Can I ask you? Can I ask you this? Well, wait, hang on. Can I ask you this, man? When you are going about it the way you're going about it, are you also clear that if we stopped this, America takes the hit economically, militarily, geopolitically? Are you being clear that if you cut the aid to Israel, Israel will be fine, but America loses influence, money, and military edge? There is no way not to see that, right?
I don't believe that. I think the Israeli-American alliance protects that relationship far beyond the military aid that we're giving to them. And then as far as the jobs that are going to be lost here, so you're saying we give them 3 point something billion and then they have to spend it in the US. Well, if it's US money, why don't we just give that money straight to Lockheed Martin? Like we could cut out the whole thing.
We do.
Then how are we losing those jobs?
You're saying if we stop the aid to Israel, why don't we do that? Because they will never. Can you imagine that being approved? Can you imagine you say to the Democrats, guys, we also want to take 3.8 billion and hand it to Lockheed Martin and Raytheon. Are you thinking that's going to get voted in? The only reason that passes is because it's going to an ally that also provides us with so much stuff. And until recently, an ally that even the Democrats recognized was an ally before they became the Nazi party. Don't forget, if you want to simplify it into something really simple, then it's really easy to do. It's not complicated. I don't have to talk about women being strippers in Omaha or whatever you were saying. I just have to say that U.S. aid to Israel isn't a handout. It's a weapons contract. America doesn't give Israel $3.8 billion. America gives American companies $3.8 billion to give weapons to Israel that allows Israel to field test them for us. And that means U.S. defense companies and American jobs are stronger, giving us stronger allies on the front lines.
That is exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying stop calling it aid. Call it a purchase sale agreement.
But we didn't
call
disagree
it a bilateral
with you
trade agreement.
We have never disagreed with you on that. What we do disagree on,
and the thing
what we do disagree on is that it's going to change the narrative, number one. And number two, no matter what, whether they change the wording, whether it's optics, whether it's semantics, or whether it's anything else, we have to continue being clear because there is still going to be a need for America to have Israel on the front lines. There is still going to be a need for Israel to field test those weapons.
That. The tide is shifting. You're seeing the youth, especially on the Democrat side, absolutely abandoning Israel and embracing every single Muslim dictatorship.
That is true.
How's that going to work out in the long run? And if you switch it to just a bilateral trade agreement where we need to buy their technology.
In the long run, if Israel has already recognized, thanks to the Biden presidency, that they are no longer the ally they once were, especially on the Democrat side, and they are already ramping up their own production, and that is not going to take long to do. And if America pulls this funding, Israel will go ahead and they will go, first of all, world market, and they will do everything they can internally, and they will make sure that that's billions that are going to be poured into their own economy now instead of billions that are, because it's not just 3.8 billion go in and out. In addition to the 3.8 billion that we have handed our own companies, Israel also then adds to that billions upon other billions. Don't forget, Israel's GDP on an annual basis is about $560 billion. So this drop in the bucket isn't the reason why we're buying from America. We're doing that because of the allyship and because of this jobs program that America created. So we're like, we'll supplement that. But then that, again, jobs program. If that all goes away, thanks to the Democrats who have decided to welcome jihad into America, well, Israel's going to still be on the front lines on the other side of it, and they're still going to have to hold back the tide. They just won't hold back in the United States anymore.
Listen, this is a trend anybody could have seen coming, okay? And again, you brought up a brilliant point with Douglas Murray. This was something that was being held in and being thought about for many years. You don't have to look that long ago when Pat Buchanan in 92 was spewing this crap. You don't have to look back that far to see that this hatred was building up within certain parts of the right in this country, and you definitely have to look that far back to see that this hatred has been building up within the left in our country. So this isn't something new. The flare got shot up, and all of a sudden, here we are after October 8th. So I don't think there's anything you could do to, except as Golan said, continue to speak the truth. And that's all we were saying about your comment. Don't lump it in and don't make it
I'm
flippant.
happy to not lump it in.
That was our issue.
That's the only thing we've been talking
Okay,
about.
great.
We agree. Ben,
I
your
apologize
idea
for
is a
lumping
good
it in.
one.
I have
Your
this
idea is a
idea.
good one. We agree with you.
I have this idea that America should not be giving foreign aid, period. We saw with the USAID scam that we were giving it to countries and places that absolutely despise and hate us, if not want to outright kill us. So that's foreign aid as a whole. As far as the Israel thing, as far as Israeli American relationships and the bomb throwers on the internet who just love to just lob grenades, as Bill O'Reilly says, the dishonest grenade throwers or whatever he calls them. This is an easy one. And I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you that just because there's rampant anti-Semitism, anti-Israelite, anti-Jew, anti-whatever you want to call it, is all over the place, that you just throw your hands up in the air and you give up. I don't agree with that.
But what are you talking about? None of us
said that. I think you counter it.
We're saying
you counter it wherever you can.
We're saying Golan has just said the complete opposite. We're not saying throw our hands up. We're saying the absolute
but
reverse.
Your whole argument to me, Judah, was is it going to stop everyone from doing the apartheid and the this and the that? I'm like, no.
What we're saying is you continue to fight lies with the truth. That's it. That's all we can.
I think you fight lies any way you can. One way is the truth. Another way is explaining things. And then there's a third way, whereas if you could just eliminate the source, you go for that. So in this particular case, my point
is there's 100 sources that you would have to eliminate, because I've been hearing nothing
down
but
one
Israel
at a time,
being,
and this one's an easy one.
Israel
the
being
apartheid
nothing
one is
but
an easy one.
And
the genocide one is an easy one. I mean, these
really?
are, yeah. These are
really?
all
because now we have foreign leaders and everyone else and
who cares?
the UN and all the rest.
If the Israelis were to put up billboards just of the birth rate in Gaza since this war started, and you compare it to any other genocide in history, and you go, this is bullshit. Boom.
Billboards across the country. You're saying the same exact thing about what I just said, and then you're saying, "Oh, well, they'll believe this."
I think this is an oversimplification, Mend. I think
it is an oversimplification. Of course,
but it is. But it's an oversimplification
everybody.
that is not grounded in reality. I get that you're saying. You're talking about kind of going for the undecided voters, right? You're talking about that small sliver who haven't made a decision yet, and I think we agree with you. And I think that the way. By the way, we don't even disagree with the idea of cutting foreign aid. I would say, look, we're not going to get into a whole debate on it now. This debate went very long, but I will say there are probably some places where it makes sense for influence and this and that. But I agree with you on the whole that foreign aid has gone super rampant. Half of it is ridiculous, and half of it is also corrupt. So I agree with you on that front, and I think that there is validity to that. The thing that we're saying is, in addition to whatever semantic, because some of that's semantic, some of that's optics, some of that's real and policy, no matter which of those you're using, you still have to be clear about everything, because they're going to continue to create lie upon lie upon lie. And that's all we were saying, is just be careful how we give the message out there, because in addition to whatever else that we do, that is pragmatic, that is actual policy change and everything else, we still are going to have to fight the lies, and they're going to keep coming. Social media and the corruption guarantees it.
I agree with that. I think you got to fight. You fight the lies everywhere.
Then we are all on the same page.
But it's also important to explain this has been going on since Israel was created. I want to explain you something. So I just want to say this, because we really do have to wrap up. So take the Entebbe situation, right? So we've brought this up. In 1976, Air France plane was hijacked and was taken to Uganda, right? It was done by the Germans and the Arabs. Obviously, they were mercenaries, right? Go on. So they came up with this insane demand list. They wanted 43 people that were terrorists to be released. They also wanted money. It was a logistical impossibility. So Israel did not know what to do. Because if they went in, they came up with plans to take over Uganda. They did not know what to do. But what was their biggest fear? Was world opinion. That was their biggest fear. In Israel, there was mass internal strife over this, because half of the Israelis wanted them to negotiate and the other half did not want to. Does this sound familiar? This is 1976, 49 years ago that this happened. So they listened to the field officers who came up with a plan, and they gave the plan the go, and miraculously, the plan worked, and they've been studying that plan ever since. So I'm just putting in perspective that this is
Can I
nothing.
add, Judah, to that it's a perfect Uganda is Entebbe is a perfect example of this. The UN lambasted Israel, right? They said that was a serious violation of Uganda's sovereignty, right? Even the US said we don't like that you used US weapons when you were doing this foreign
Especially the Hercules
operation,
plane.
especially the Hercules, exactly. And one by one, all of these countries, they were saying, oh, the raid is now a precedent, and what about us? And France, it was an Air France flight. France came out afterwards and complained that people had died and blamed Israel for the operation. So the
You're talking
idea
about
of,
Entebbe, right?
I'm talking about
So,
Entebbe, that's
What I'm
right.
and I don't,
simply saying
what's
is
the
I'm
point? You're
just
trying to say
using
that the whole world they've been anti-Semites forever?
no, well,
Well, I mean, that's not what we're saying, but that happens to be true.
yeah, and I'm no.
But that doesn't negate my argument. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. Let
let me read
Judah
something to
finish
you.
his. Let Judah finish what he was saying.
Man, what I'm simply saying is this was 49 years ago, and we're still having the same debate, only under different context, right? So the argument, right? So now we have Doha, right, where Israel has to apologize supposedly for the airstrike. You know what the same thing with Idi Amin was? Because with Uganda, it was a sovereign nation. But the
He
way
asked
they
for
got around
reparations.
and the way they got around that was by saying that Idi Amin was collaborating with the terrorists, which no longer made them a sovereign nation. What I'm saying is 49 years later, we're having the same exact conversation.
All I'm saying is we should be using every tool in our toolkit to combat this stuff. I could read something to you. I got a better one. You think Idi Amin was a big one? This is June 24th, 1960.
My
The
birthday.
Security Council of the United Nations, having examined the complaint that the transfer of Adolf Eichmann to the territory of Israel constitutes a violation of the sovereignty of the Argentine Republic. This is the United Nations condemning Israel for kidnapping one of the mass murderers, the top leaders of the Hitler regime, and brought him to Israel for justice. So you don't have to
Going into
convince me. I
Argentina.
clearly know
This
where the world stands.
So what I'm saying is you're just proving I'm not trying to be right here. I'm simply saying we've been having the
and we
same
agree with you.
discussion
And I'm
since
saying you use all the tools in your toolbox to fight back, and this is one easy one.
remember when Israel was formed, there was an arms embargo to Israel. And even then, the argument was against setting up Israel as a state when we wouldn't even allow them to have weapons that we
So
destroyed
are you
in our
saying we
own
shouldn't
country.
try to combat this one? Yours does. What's
No,
the
what I'm
stance you're
saying
taking on
is,
this?
go on. I mean, did I miss what I'm saying is you fight lies with the truth. That's
And
So
wait
you're
a
it.
second.
saying don't
Wait a second,
discontinue
men.
the
Wait,
foreign aid?
wait. We all are on the same page, actually. Okay. The only difference is that this whole thing started is because the way you phrased what you phrased was dangerous. It sounded like you
All
were.
right, so I shouldn't have lumped the two together. We'll do it two separate things. On the one hand, I believe that America should stop giving out foreign aid, period. It's our tax dollars. We work hard for it. Stop giving it away to other countries.
And you
If you
also
want us to
believe,
give
in addition to that,
donations
we should relabel the money that we give to Israel. We could still do it the same
separately,
way, but
completely
call it
separate,
sale.
yes, I think the government should set up a donation website and say these are all of the different organizations and countries that we've been giving aid to. We no longer want to force you to give aid to these countries, but if you would like to donate to any of these organizations or countries, click this button and you can make any donation you would like at your discretion, not forced. That's my big problem with foreign aid, is that they are forcing us to give charity, which we are, we're taxed, so we don't have a say in it. And then they just give it away to God knows who. Don't want that. I want none of that. And then separately, I think there's this argument from the woke left and the woke right about foreign aid, especially to Israel. They never happen to mention Egypt, which gets almost as much, or all the other Arab countries, which get more than Israel combined. So to eliminate that argument, we could just stop doing it and let them purchase Israeli technology, and Israelis could purchase American technology, and great, and done, and we move on.
And I will just say this, listen, my point to you has been since the formation of Israel, people have used every argument to isolate it or to destroy it from either America or mostly the world. Obviously within the United Nations. Yom Kippur it's Yom Kippur, okay? And we must not forget that I will just end it with this story. And listen, all of us want the same thing.
Yeah.
I think we all agree on that.
Incredibly
We all
important
want
to
the
say
same
that.
thing. And we're arguing on how to frame arguments and how to discuss things, which I think is extremely important. And oftentimes, listen, I think even when we fight about this, trust me, this is no fight in comparison to what goes on in the Knesset in Israel or the government in the United States or I wish more podcasts would have these types of argumentative type discussions, because I actually think a lot would get, it would be more constructive. So as we're here on Yom Kippur, it's important to remember during the 73 war, Israel was surrounded. Okay? Israel was surrounded. Golda Meir had the cyanide pills ready to take. That's how bad it was. Richard Nixon, who was told by his mother that one day he would be the savior of Israel, went against his own State Department. Ben Stein's father used to knock on Herbert Stein, who was the only member of the cabinet that was there the full 6 years, would knock on his door every morning and beg him to save Eretz Israel, would beg him to save it. And Richard Nixon went to DEFCON 3, which is the highest level, and said to the State Department, you are to send every weapon that they need. And again, I'll repeat, he did not trust the government or the State Department or Henry Kissinger to actually do what he asked for. And he would not get off the phone until he heard the words wheels up. That's what the American president, Richard Nixon, did to help save Israel. Okay. And that is, thank God for Richard Nixon. Thank God for Donald Trump for being, as we keep on saying, one of the few presidents that have moral clarity when it comes to Israel, because Israel would not exist right now had Richard Nixon not sent the weapons they needed. And from the bottom of my heart, I love this country more than I do life. And I love what we've done. I love how we try to help people. We're good people. And I'm sick of this narrative where we're not good people.
Amen.
We give more charity. We try to help those USA. And I don't want to use USAID as an example of the idiocy of that, because we do so much good. So as we're here on this Yom Kippur, I say to people, remember what we've done in the past and look at the past and look at the present and look at what they did to Nixon after he did that. It's no different than what they did to Trump when he didn't listen to the State Department. They vilified him. They impeached him, and Nixon had to go. Thank God Trump did. Thank God Trump didn't. But look at what vilification happened to Trump, because he went against the State Department. And it's so important on a day like today to realize the importance of this special bond that Nixon had. And he realized that. Nixon and Trump both realized this is much bigger than him. This is so much bigger than all of us. And as we're looking at the world right now, I don't think it's a coincidence, all these attacks that are happening and this lack of clarity Americans and the woke right and the left have in regards to Israel. We're off our axis right now, and we have to get us back. We have to be realigned. So we all agree with each other. We're just disagreeing with the methods, and that's fine. But just let's not, this has been going on since the beginning. And that's the most important message I could share. The messaging in the middle has always changed, but it's been going on whether we gave them weapons or we didn't give them weapons. Okay? That's just my humble opinion. I think we all share that. I want to thank everybody for listening to our Yom Kippur special, which was recorded the day before Yom Kippur for our parents. And I want to thank everybody that listens to us and follows us. And we hope we give you ammo to fight back what we're talking about, what Mend was talking about, what Golan's talking about. We all just fight a little differently, and that's fine. And you could take what you need and leave the rest. Fair to say, boys?
I love that.
No, what you said is beautiful. A good time to reflect on this Day of Atonement. It's a great day to spend time with the family and reflect and just really look internally and see how we could be better people in the year to come. I would also like to send our thoughts and prayers to the victims of the tragedy that unfolded in the Philippines. I believe 600 people have perished.
Horrific.
It's horrific. So salamat to all of our Filipino listeners, and thoughts and prayers are with you guys. And I hope they don't discover any more victims.
But it's really important that you note that how much the Filipinos love America, how most of them are conservative. They have conservative values. They have beautiful traditions. This isn't just some off country somewhere out there. This is people that used to be associated with us, obviously.
Mhm.
And there are people that come to this country, Golan, and want nothing but to do than contribute.
Yeah.
When they come here, they are some of the hardest workers in the world, working 16-hour shifts on a daily basis.
It's a
What they go
beautiful
through,
culture. Absolutely amazing, beautiful culture, great people. I've never met a Filipino I didn't like.
yeah, I could not agree with you. I could not agree with you more on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Golan, your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are just because we have Yom Kippur today, and sure, it's a Jewish holiday, but the idea of it isn't just Jewish. So, for those of you out there who are not Jewish who are listening, we're not excluding you. Actually, this is a universal concept. The idea of owning your part of the world, recognizing it through kind of, as men said, resetting your soul and taking responsibility, and not in a way of piling on guilt, but in a way of realizing how can I do better as we go forward. I think that is such a valuable thing. We do it once a year where we have 10 days of reflection, and this is the day where it culminates. The idea of saying we can make the world a better place, and we have to take control of our lives. We can be upset, we can be angry, we can look at the world and be upset about it, but we can do our part. And if each of us does that collectively, we can change the world. And I love that you guys are all here with us on a daily basis. It's so moving, it's so meaningful to us, and it just makes this day even more powerful. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to remind people that it is Yom Kippur, and 49 years ago, Israel was at war. 49 years later, they're still at war. God willing, President Trump will, with this 20-point plan, will not make it that in another 49 years, Israel is at war again. And the bloodshed coming from the Islamic nations has to stop.
At war with the same people.
At war with the same exact people, different names sometimes, but they're branded differently.
Yeah.
Yet the main branding is jihadist murderers that hate both America and Israel. On that note, I want to thank everybody for listening. You can find us everywhere at thedailycheatsheet.com. That's thedailycheatsheet.com. I want to wish everybody a good morning, afternoon, and night world, wherever you are. God bless you all.